I don't know.
This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to open up the Public Works and Protection meeting on Tuesday, December 6, 2022. Roll call, please.
Gary Paul,
Here.
Kelly Service,
Here.
Jake Krieger,
Here.
Joanne Euclid. Here. And John Burnett.
Here. Very good. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Action on the agenda. Any changes or corrections?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes from the meeting November 1, 2022. Any corrections or additions on that one?
Move to approve.
Looking good? Two?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 6, comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda. Must state your name and address, limited to 5 minutes. Board role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personal issues cannot be discussed, nor individuals named. Board is not able to take action at this meeting. Do we have anybody that would like to speak to us tonight that don't look too good? Anybody online? I guess we're good there too. Okay, moving on to item 7, action items. Action item A, action on temporary liquor license extension for Titletown Plaza. Chris, you are on the board.
Thank you. This is an event that they had last year. The only difference for the liquor license extension is they asked for 2 extra days, one before and one after. So it's going to run from December 30th to January 2nd. And Jordan Burke is on the line if you have any questions.
Okay, so it's just a time thing that is extended then?
From last year.
From
the only
last-
difference
from
is
last year.
they asked for a couple extra days. And
Okay.
so it's just a liquor license extension at Titletown.
Which is permittable.
Yes.
Any questions?
Was there any problem last year with this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I'd assume the extra days are due to it being on a weekend.
Correct.
That is correct. And then also to include the home game that is on January 1st.
Okay.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Okay. Any
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, not a problem there. Item action 2, consider, discuss, act on request to install a street light on Blue Ridge Drive between Ori Lane and Marley Lane. Joe?
Hi, good evening. Thank you. This particular item is being referred back to committee from the village board. So for those of you that are on committee and not on the village board, this is a relatively new topic, but it has been something that has been discussed at the village board level for a few meetings now, dating back to at some point midsummer. The request has been made by a resident to consider placing a mid-block streetlight on Blue Ridge Drive between Marley Lane and Ori Lane. This particular location does not have a mid-block light. The other area, neighborhood, streets, and blocks all have mid-block lights as indicated on the map that you received in your packet. Again, this proposal was requested by a resident on Blue Ridge Drive. It was forwarded to a trustee, at which point we discussed this at the board level. And the purpose for that discussion was twofold. One, the village policy currently states that streetlights are to be located at intersections, curves, and at the end of cul-de-sacs. So nowhere within current village policy do we typically place mid-block lights. However, mid-block lights have been placed at the discretion of the board from time to time. And so that's essentially why it came before the board for that purpose. The board had directed staff to refer this item back to committee for further deliberation and opportunity for public comment on the proposed location of that mid-block streetlight. In addition to that, the board had requested staff organize and coordinate a public informational meeting, an informal meeting, if you will, and invite the area neighbors that would be affected by the streetlight to provide opportunities for them to ask questions and provide input to staff in relation to that streetlight. That informal public informational meeting was held tonight prior to the Public Works and Protection meeting. We had a total of 4 residents from the area attend the meeting. I will say that over the course of today, I did receive 3 individual phone calls from residents as well, expressing their thoughts on the proposed streetlight and indicate they were not able to attend the meeting tonight as a result. The map that we have on the screen was not included in your packet, but it kind of further details the proposed location of the streetlight. The area that's marked in yellow are easements that are maintained by Wisconsin Public Service, which basically effectively provides power to all the residential homes within both the north side of Blue Ridge Drive and along the south side of Blue Ridge and the north side of Valley View Road. You'll also notice that there are some north-south easements that extend between Valley View and up to Blue Ridge, and from the easement that runs east and west north of Blue Ridge that provides power to Blue Ridge Drive. So when reaching out to Wisconsin Public Service to locate the street light, the preferred location based on the location of easements and the access to power supply for the street light is indicated on those north-south easement lines. So the preferred locations would be between 1197 and 1189, which are the 2 properties on the south side of Blue Ridge, or between 1192 and 1184, which is the 2 properties on the north side. Now, in practice, we could place the street light anywhere on either the north or south side of the street, but in doing so, we would have to do one or maybe 2 things. One, WPS may require an additional easement to access power to the streetlight, which would have to be agreeable to the adjacent property owners. Or 2, we would need to extend power from the easements east or west along Blue Ridge Drive within the public right-of-way, which would require directional drilling of that power supply to the light pole, which would directionally bore underneath aprons of individual driveways. So we can do it. It comes at a greater cost, obviously, for the proposed streetlight, and it certainly could provide some inconveniences at times as they extend the power supply to the streetlight. So again, the preferred location is between those 2 locations, just primarily because of access to power and in proximity to the location of that mid-block area. Now, as indicated, the board wanted some feedback from the area residents and provided opportunities and avenues for the residents to do that. One of those avenues was that public informational meeting tonight. We did have 4 individuals contact us at that meeting, all of which did really very little to no support of locating the streetlight on Blue Ridge Drive. In fact, some of them were pretty strongly opposed to the streetlight, specifically if it is placed adjacent to their property. If it wasn't placed adjacent to their property or on their property, then they were a little bit more willing to entertain the concept. The exception to that would be at 1192. We did have the residents there. They did speak and indicate that they're indifferent, essentially, is kind of the opinion that I took from it, is that they would be okay either way. And although not strongly supportive of the light, they did not express major concern if it was located at that easement location. So with that, because this is a policy decision and albeit somewhat discretionary, it's really up to both the committee and board to make a determination as to whether it would like to direct staff to proceed with WPS's proposal for the streetlight. Tonight, action at the committee is primarily to provide a recommendation to the village board. Village board will ultimately make that decision next week, Tuesday, based on the recommendation from committee. So your motion tonight would be either to approve or deny a recommendation to install a streetlight at a specific location on Blue Ridge based on the information that's presented tonight. So with that, I'll answer any other questions that the committee may have. And I should add that there are likely people in the audience that are here also to speak on this topic that may not have been available or present for the public informational meeting. So if the committee would welcome the opportunity to open the floor for them, that's certainly reasonable as well.
Joe, in your meeting, what was the biggest concern? It sounded like the meeting was more negative to the lighting than it was positive. What is the reasoning for not wanting it?
If I were to summarize, I guess the thought is that the additional light is more of a nuisance. Concerned about light basically coming into homes, into bedroom windows, things of that nature, and creating issues for individuals that may be having a difficult time sleeping, things of that nature. I think anecdotally, everyone recognizes it does add safety to the neighborhood, but at what cost? And there could be deemed a nuisance then at that point. There were other comments that were made about the attractiveness of streetlights, the attractiveness of the poles that house the streetlights, things of that nature. General concerns about the construction practice, if you will, and boring power from the easement to the front of the street to get access to the street light, and what impacts would that have on my side yard? Would I have conflicts then with maybe laterals that support my sump pump and things of that nature into a storm sewer? So just kind of the constructability aspect of it, and they were concerned that that the additional street light would create problems in other areas that they would be concerned with.
If there was a lot of boring done, knowing that the power is not to that particular pole wherever it might go, it would be all boring. There wouldn't be any lawn disturbance or anything till you got to the pole itself. Am I pretty correct on that?
That is correct, and Brian can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but generally with directional drilling, there'll be kind of two potholes created, one at the start of the line, one at the end of the line, and then they'll extend the power. So there really shouldn't be too many top of land disturbances other than those two potholes. So yeah, you're correct. Most of it would be able to be directionally drilled.
So we'd only, looking at what you're saying at 1192, you're only going to run probably across one lot then.
Yeah, if the street light were to be placed on the north side of Blue Ridge Drive between 1192 and 1184, we would have a directional drill from the rear yard where we have that east-west connection. There's a power pole in the backyard there. So the power would come off that pole in the backyard, run immediately south between the side yards of 1192 and 1184, and then be brought up to power the pole for the street light at the street.
So the power is coming off the back of the lot then rather than on the front of the lot. Correct. Right, I got the same thing at my house where I live. We got a long block with a light kitty corner from my lot, which to me is very safe. It's a safety issue that I do enjoy, and it is not bothering any lights, or excuse me, any homes by any means with the light that it does produce. Okay, any other questions, any concerns with our people here?
Do we have specs on how far behind the light will shine? Because I would guess the homes that are the most concerned about light shining in their windows are the ones where the pole is going to be right in their yard, right? Because I'm just thinking if the pole is all the way out at the street, does it even shine back toward the houses enough to get in their bedrooms?
It shouldn't, and if I can do this correctly.
To add to that comment, I think Jay has taken a ride there through nights, and I went down the street that does not have, and I went down the street that does have, and the light basically is beaming down on the street itself. It's not saying that it doesn't broadcast into the front of the homes by any means, but I don't see where it's a problem with extensive lighting in people's front yards, in my opinion, but that's only my opinion.
Yeah, a little difficult to see on the screen. So We Energies is essentially combined with WPS, so they use the same lighting systems for their streetlights. One thing to note is that this new streetlight would basically be a new design that is different than what is presently found at the intersections of, let's say, Ori and Blue Ridge or Marley and Blue Ridge. So those streetlights are likely the old style, that sodium halide light. So it's that orangish light. It broadcasts and extends further horizontally. This new streetlight would be one of the LED fixtures.
okay.
So WPS does not install the sodium halide fixtures anymore. And so as a result of that, you will get less horizontal light from the LED and more directional light down towards the ground. And so this is the lighting diagram. And again, it's a little bit difficult to see, but this center point here is basically the center of the pole. The blue line is the last line of noticeable foot candle light from the fixture. So assuming that the street is to the top part of this light would cast out essentially across the street. So each one of these little hash marks, I think, is about 5 feet. And so there will be some light that casts out behind the pole, but you can see obviously that the light is set to be directional out towards the street. So if these are 5 feet increments, it's about 20 feet from the back of the pole that you will actually see some light. Most homes are set back farther than 20 feet, and so it will be dark beyond that 20-foot point.
Remind me, Brian, what's the width of the road in that area?
Approximately 37 back to back. So back a curb to back a curb.
There's an LED light they just installed in front of my shop there. It does broadcast over the street real well. It does not, there's a home across the street, and I don't see any reflection of that light being a problem to them at all. And they got 2 bedrooms, if I remember right, on that property.
I have a question. The first sentence really in the letter that they sent for the request was talking about safety concerns. What kind of safety concerns are we worried about here? People getting hit by cars?
Yeah, I think it's kind of an anecdotal safety concern. So the resident reached out to one of our trustees, to which point it kind of got directed to staff. So it's just more or less, this section of the roadway is relatively dark because of the lack of that street light and because of pedestrians and other motorists and other users on the street. It is at times difficult to see them during those dark periods. And they felt that an additional street light would hopefully add some ambience to that area, thus creating more visibility for people that are walking or biking or doing whatever in the street. So I don't know that it was necessarily pertaining to like a criminal type safety issue or concerns from that standpoint. I think it was more of a concern for usability of the road.
Any other questions?
So should we open it up to the floor? See if
Yeah.
anybody wants to speak.
Can we open the floor, please?
Make a motion to open the, to the floor.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. You want to come up and give us your name and address, please? Pull the mic to you so we can hear you.
Okay.
The one on the, I don't know if that's alive or not. The other one is, I know.
This one here?
Yeah.
You can have a
Just
seat.
sit down, sit down. Feel comfortable.
Push it? Okay. So my name is Tracy Kiwis. I reside at 1189 Blue Ridge Drive, which obviously is one of the locations that you're looking at
I'm looking at it right now.
putting a light in. I strongly oppose it. I don't like the look of the lights at all. I've driven around our neighborhood, most of them they're leaning, some of them are set more back in the yard. I've seen several like that. And I don't know when they installed them, if they had a problem getting them closer to the road, but I don't like the location of them, the way they look. I don't. A lot of the things he mentioned were concerns that I expressed as well, was the bedroom windows, light coming in and such. As far as lighting goes, I think there's more light than ever that is emitted from the Titletown district on Blue Ridge Drive. I think a lot of the problem is when the trees are growing in full, it blocks a lot of that light, but more so now with them being bare, you can really, I mean, 'cause
Broadcast it
there's a
more.
lot of light there. I don't feel a streetlight is necessary, personally.
Okay.
I know a lot of people in our neighborhood express the same thought. We did have a talk amongst ourselves, and we have a neighborhood chat, if you will. And there was very few that were in favor.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
Not really. That's about it. I'm just, I can't support it.
Okay. Very good. Appreciate your thought. Anybody else in the group like to speak? If not, can we close the floor?
Make a motion to close the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, this, we can vote on it. We can have a yes or no, or just move it to the,
Well, I think if the light's going to go in, I think the preferred, from what I was understanding, is probably the 1192, 1184 position. Is that a correct statement, Joel?
Based on our experiences with residents in that neighborhood, 1192 was the only one that was not opposed to it per se. I can't say that they were fully supportive of it, but they weren't opposed to it. And with that, 1184, the resident there was not available and has not provided us any feedback.
okay. This would go to the village board if whatever we do here, am I
Correct.
correct?
Your action tonight is just to make a motion to recommend the board either approving the request and placement of the light in a specific location, or simply deny the request for the additional street light, and then that's it.
Okay.
And in the past, Joel, has it been kind of the precedence that they get the approval of all of the residents in the area in order to, before they put a street light in? Has that kind of been what has happened in the past, or do we not really have that history?
That has been the history that was described to me by our former Public Works Director, Doug Martin, that oftentimes when these types of requests come up, that is outside of the policy window, that generally speaking, somebody needs to approve it to have it placed in or adjacent to their yard, if you will.
Okay.
And that could be a reason why there's no light there. I don't know the full history behind it, but that's generally been the case, that if we have an agreeable property owner that would be adjacent to where the street light's located, then in all likelihood, we would place the light. However, in the past, if we did not find an agreeable property owner, then the light would not be placed.
I think based on the information that we've had, and very much appreciate that, I think what we should do is just push this forward to the village board, and then that way we have the full village board then with all the information, and then the decision can be made there and discussed. So I would make a motion just to push this forward with the approval of the light. I would be saying that it should be in the 1192, 1184 location. And so I'll make that motion, and then we push it forward to the village board to make the final decision, whether it goes in or not.
I'll second.
All right, we got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The village board is going to be on the 13th of this month. I believe that'll be a week from tonight. Because of the holidays, we moved it up, so there may be some people that would like to come in, talk in favor or oppose, whatever, but just to warn you that we have a 13th day of this month, there will be the village board meeting. So if you're interested in coming, it's perfectly open for you people. Items for next agenda. Anybody got something they want on the agenda, please present it to the staff and they will take care of it. If there's no other questions, need a motion to adjourn and let the next meeting start.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good night. Have a good holiday. Won't